Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. Today we're gonna go to this channel that I've been looking at but I've never done a video on it. The channel name is Devin Gibson. And today we're gonna watch him react on Frank Turek, the title being Atheist Student Changed His Mind After Frank Turek Said This. He has about 1.16 million subscribers. I feel like it's ridiculous at this point, but let's just see. And this video has 17k views. Like, how does that even work? Let's get into the video.
What's wrong with murder if there's no God? Why shouldn't I kill other people to get what I want if there's no God?
All right, y'all. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you're tuning in. I'm grateful to have you here. And we got my man, Dr. Frank Turek, back in the building today talking to an atheist student about morality and human rights. I haven't seen it yet, but this should be a doozy. I'll let the video roll and then get my 2 cents on the back end. Let's get it popping.
Now, before we get it popping, is he actually a doctor or you just calling him a doctor because as an apologetic? I don't know. He doesn't sound like a doctor to me, but who knows?
Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
I'm an atheist.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Of course, of course. I love hearing these kind of debates and stuff. You asked why would you be a atheist if you possibly might know if God exists? My answer to that question is simple. It's just the fact that there's so many terrible things in the Bible. Like at one point, Jesus says to one of his disciples, "It's great that they're torturing their slaves here, but only lightly. Even though they did nothing wrong, it's great that they're doing it." He doesn't give any reason to why he says that he doesn't do anything. I don't understand why you would want to follow such a God. And my question to you is why you would follow such a God.
Okay, let's not even look at the context of that passage. Let's just assume what you said is 100% true. Okay? As an atheist, why is that wrong?
Why is that wrong?
Yeah.
Morally, I would think that each and every human being here is the same. We all have the same rights. We all have the same wants and needs. I think we all should do the same. I think that we should, especially the God that we should follow, should have higher expectations of knowing such a thing.
Okay, but you seem to be assuming that certain things are...
So that is true. It's a good point to point out that even if there's this objective morality that Christians claim, we should have a God that has a higher morality than us or higher moral standard, but the God of the Bible doesn't. And the reality of the fact is that we have a subjective morality. And if you think it's objective, well, prove it. Still yet to find any evidence for an objective morality.
are really right and people have certain rights, even if there is no God. How do you justify that? What's your standard of rightness if there's
My
no God?
standard of rightness would be a fair society.
What do you mean by fair?
Fair. Everything is equal. I personally, I have nothing wrong. I find nothing wrong with the communistic state. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's something you can be afraid of. Everybody seems to be afraid of it.
Okay.
In the United States at least. But that's just my thought of fairness, is the idea that all humans should be the same. We all
Okay, so it's your thought of fairness. What if Hitler has a different idea of fairness? Is he wrong?
He is not wrong.
Hitler's not wrong.
He is not, well, in a kind of idea that we all have our own opinions. I feel like we should take the utilitarian view and go with what is best for the most amount of us.
Okay, but what do you mean by best?
What would mean the greatest positives for the most amount of people?
Okay, but you're assuming that you're assuming there's a best out there. You're assuming a moral law. Where does that moral law come from? If there's no...
It's not assuming a moral law. It's saying we should all aim to be better as human beings to benefit each other. That's not like a moral law or moral code. It's just really common sense. It's something we've come to understand that we need society for us to actually survive. If it's just one human against everything else, he's gonna die. He or she is gonna die. But if it's a community, we have a better chance of surviving. develop empathy through evolution, and thus we have an idea of morality in our head and the understanding that killing others is not good. It doesn't make sense to kill others, it doesn't benefit anyone, and we empathize with them that that's not a good thing. We wouldn't also want to be killed, so why kill someone else? Thus, we make laws about this stuff. I mean, these people like to press on about their objective morality. None of you bozos stone women if they're not virgins at their wedding night. None of you stone gay people or people who lie with men. None of you do that. And that's in your Bible. So I guess you're not following the objective moral standard that God sets for you. Isn't that interesting?
God.
Oh, I personally just think that human beings should be able to make up their own laws. I mean, each people in time have found.
We're already doing that. We are making up each our own laws. That's why we have different laws in different places over time. If it's objective and it's in our heart, we'll have the same laws and nothing will change. Same 10 commandments everywhere. Same laws that they were given to the Jews will be everywhere. But guess what? It's not.
On their own moral laws, and I think that they become better and better over time.
Better, but you wouldn't even know what better was unless you knew what best was. So I'm asking you, what is your standard of best?
Better as in benefit all human beings. That's the standard of better. Human right. We aim to help each and every human to gain human right. There are other places in the world where people are not given their common human rights and not giving freedom to be humans. Even in America, people are getting the freedom taken away to be humans. So let's start from there. Human right.
Best to say that certain people are closer to the best or better than others. What's the standard? Is it just your opinion, or is there something beyond your opinion which says this is good?
Well, I mean, we've all heard about utopias and a perfect society and things like that. That would be great in a way, but also we've all seen like the books like Huxley's, I believe, I forget what it's called, but he makes a book on this
Great
perfect
New World?
society.
You're talking
Yes.
about- okay, yeah.
It's that perfect society that everybody's perfect. There's no murder, there's no any of that.
Okay, but the question is, and maybe I'm just not stating it properly, what's wrong with murder if there's no God? Why shouldn't I kill other people to get what I want if there's no God?
Even if there is a God, there's nothing wrong with murder. Just because he said it in a book, or a book claims that God said it, doesn't still make you could. Okay, even if you believe in a God, let me put it this way: even if you believe in a God, it doesn't mean you have to follow the Bible or any religious text. You could just believe there's a God out there, and he hasn't given anybody a moral code. Because the fact of the matter is the Bible is unreliable and we cannot trust that that's from God even if there is a God. The Bible is definitely man-made and have a bunch of man influence on it. Now, even if the God was the one giving the moral code in the Bible, there's nothing wrong with murder or killing, however you want to put it. Unjust killing, just killing. I mean, is it unjust killing to kill babies that were just born? You answer that, Christians. It seems like most of you will say, yeah, it was just apparently for the little babies, Canaanites, and the flood to just die. I say that's unjust.
Because it doesn't help society.
But why do I care about society?
Because
There's
we
no
as a
God.
group should worry about society. We should be making.
Why you should care about society? Because you will not survive unless you're part of the group or the society. That's how it works. If you're out alone, Frank, and put in the jungle, you will not last a day. But if you have 100 people with you, and you all group together to build a community, most of you will survive. Not all of you, but most of you will survive and will develop.
The betterment of ourselves.
But Kyle, you're importing a moral law into a frame that has no moral law. As an atheist, you're trying to say there is no God, which means there is no standard of rightness out there. But I'm saying this is my personal standard of rightness, which would mean somebody else could come along like Stalin and say, Kyle, if there's no standard beyond neither you or me, then I can do whatever I want, including killing you to get what you have.
But I think Frank is forgetting that he's not making any sense here. It never makes any sense. I guess that's okay. I guess when you never make sense in your life, I'm going too far. When you never make sense when you're doing debate or speaking to people, I guess you will always think you're somehow making sense. Anyways, if another person like a Muslim or a Buddhist, I don't think they believe in a God. They're basically like atheists in a sense, but they're still spiritual. If you're a Muslim or a Jew or anyone and you believe in a God, not in the Christian God, and you say your God said to do this and the Christian God said my God said to do this, and it contradicts each other, that's also a problem. I mean, these people go, oh yeah, God gave us some moral code. But there's some other people in the world that believes in other gods. And when they bring their own objective moral code that God apparently gave to them and contradicts yours, you're going to say they have a false God. But out in the world, would anyone know that? So basically back to a subjective opinion. Now it's just God versus gods. Like, it's dumb. It's dumb. Understand that we have a subjective morality and it's up to us to make this world a better place. And yet, this guy still haven't comment.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point. I can see where you're coming from.
Whoa!
I don't think that God is needed in a sense I'm not looking for perfection. I don't think anybody here is. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for human beings just to simply work together to better society. I don't really see that need for a perfect identity up above. I don't.
Okay, I mean, I'm not saying that an atheist can't be a good person. I'm not saying atheists don't know right from wrong. That's not my point. My point is that it seems to me it's difficult to justify what rightness is if everything is reduced to human opinion. Which human gets to decide, right? It's subjective then, as Levi was saying before, it's just in my subjective mind. If there's not an external reference to say that this is good and this is evil, then we're all just here and we're fending for ourselves. Now, a lot of people will say, and I appreciate your question, it's a very good question. A lot of people will say, well, we need to cooperate to get along, right? Actually, that's not true. Take somebody like Stalin. He cooperated with very few people, just his henchmen, and he killed 20 million people to get what he wanted. And then he died on his deathbed at the age of 74, shaking his fist at God one last time. He never paid for his sins on this life. Okay?
But you Christians want him to pay eternity in hell in apparently the afterlife, which there's no evidence of. It's just so how weird these people thinkings are. And also, you're not making any point in Stalin did gather people to go against, in a sense, he gathered some people to oppress his own people, which is very weird thing for anyone to do. He's probably a psychopath. Who knows? Same with Hitler. He's probably also a psychopath. Yeah, definitely a psychopath. What am I saying? He did gather a few people to take over a mass, but then doesn't that also show that being together benefits humanity? And how did we all took him down again? We gathered our force and we stopped him. We worked together to stop Stalin and Hitler. It's just opinion versus opinion after all. It's just one belief struggling that, oh yeah, this is the right way to do it, and the other believes this is the better way, and the other side have more reasoning to their point. Genocide isn't gonna help anybody. We can come to a better moral standard by reasoning and empathy. And that's what we're doing so far, and it's working. Women getting the right, we having people getting human rights all around the world, and we have people are living in a better place than they were 200 years ago, 100 years ago, which shows that it works. Making our morality off of empathy and reasoning works. Not from getting it from the Bible, because we didn't get shit from the Bible. Thou shalt not kill. Like, in every other religion, in every other culture, in every other civilization that actually survived, that's part of the rule. Stealing and order, there's punishment for order, severe or not severe. It's everywhere. So the Bible isn't special, people. It's not special.
Okay? So the problem, it seems to me, is we know, and you know right, and you know what's right and wrong, and I know it too, and I don't need to believe in God to know that. I just need there to be a God to justify it. Let me put it this way. A lot of atheists say, look, I know right from wrong, and I agree with you know right from wrong. But that's like saying...
Not in every case. No one knows right from wrong in every case. That's why we need to reason and empathy. That's why we need a court system so we can judge a case by case. It's not just clear cut, oh you're going to jail, oh you did wrong, let's stone you to death. You have to reason and use empathy.
I can know what a book says and deny there's an author, which is true. But there would be no book to read unless there was an author. The same is true.
Because we know that's how books work. There has to be an author. Don't imply the same thing for the universe, because we don't know how that works. It's just back to the God of the gaps, which I'm not surprised Frank Turek loves to use.
True when it comes to morality. You can know what the right thing to do is and deny there's a God. But there would be no right thing to do unless there was a God. Does that make sense?
I guess I can see your point, yes.
Let me, if I gave you a book, would you read it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Before we go, where's Emma? She's back there somewhere. She'll be at the book table. Let me meet you at the book table and give you the book. Thank you so much.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That was outstanding. My goodness. First off, I gotta give a shout out to the guy holding the mic. My man made sure that we didn't miss a single word of that exchange, even if he was basically feeding the student the mic. But there's nothing worse than poor audio to ruin good content. That's how I feel about it. As for the actual conversation though, I thought it was spectacular. These are the kinds of mature, intelligent conversations that we need to see a whole lot more of. Spoiler alert, just in case you didn't know, we can disagree and still be respectful. We can still be friends even. And I love how Frank is always so graceful and lets his questioners actually finish their thought without interrupting. Then when it's his turn to talk, he responds with humility and seasons his speech with salt, how we're called to do as Christians. There's no point in winning an argument if you lose the person, because the goal here is to win souls for the kingdom, not to win some meaningless debate points. That's what it's all.
Yeah, and when has Frank Turek ever done that?
About to enjoy the dialogue, to open your ears and close your mouth to perhaps gain some wisdom, and then you can rebuttal. Then you can engage and possibly convince them of your way of thinking. As for that young man, though, I was surprised, honestly, because it's very rare that we see anybody admit that a point of reason has been made. Most people, and I'm talking about on all sides, most people get defensive and they immediately go into this aggressive mode, even when they can see reason, even when they can see the logic in the things that the other person is saying. They let this pride and ego take over and refuse to be wrong even when they clearly are. So salute to that student that I hope has found the way by now. That's what I'm praying for. And you can just tell his heart has really started to soften to the idea of God. You can tell at the end. And all it takes is one seed to get planted in somebody's shoe before they start walking toward the narrow gate to life, the righteous path led by Jesus Christ. God.
Is it just gonna keep going on and on about like preaching? If so, I think we're gonna stop it soon. But let's still keep going. And also, God's children are not for sale. What kind of shirt is that? And what is that? We're gonna keep listening. I don't even want to address it.
Guiding your steps once you put all your faith in him. And trust me, as a former lost non-believer myself, the deeper someone dives into exploring.
As a former lost non-believer, so we got another freestyle theist here, people. Another freestyle theist.
The world, the sooner that they'll come to the fact that every conclusion leads back to the Creator. Every reason that you deem as something being evil or good or right or wrong, all of that aligns with the moral compass of God Almighty. It always comes back to Him. That's where we get our moral foundation for everything from. The great C.S. Lewis once put it this way: my argument against God was that the universe seems so cruel and unjust. But how had I got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. The
goat of Christianity. I present to you one of the four goats of Christianity. And I must also point out that C.S. Lewis also claimed to be once an atheist. And he got back to being a Christian by, using his logic that he obviously have, and reasoning by saying morality is, coming from God. And Christians seems to forget that, there were other civilizations alive before Jesus was born, and they were doing just fine with different idea of what morality looks like.
answer to that is God. God's the answer to everything. The Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. He's good all the time. It's people that are fallen. It's people that use their free will to choose to sin. Going back to the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, when Eve convinced Adam to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that's when sin entered the world. And that's why humans.
Of course, the text has to blame the woman. Who else is to be blamed but women that are like snakes, and they're always doing slithery things, sneaking off. We have to, entrap them and make sure they can never be us. They're never us. We're better than them. Men rule the world, yay. Of course, women has to take the blame. This is how dumb these texts are. This is how men made this text are. You see it across different other cultures. Many things are blamed on women for some reason. The stories are just blame on women. Society just find women to be some demonic or like terrible human beings for no reason. Bible isn't special, people. The Bible is not special.
Humans are fallen, but we have a way out. So stop trying to crawl and grind your way through life on your own terms. If you do that for too long, it is going to end in destruction and darkness that lasts forever. But if you do things God's way, you'll have everlasting life. You will have eternal salvation. In 1 Corinthians 15.
Okay, it seems like he just wants to preach and not actually make sense, and I'm not here for that. So the point here is that because we apparently have an objective morality, it has to be coming from God. But Frank did not take his time to even prove that there's an objective morality. He's just relying on emotions. Oh, Hitler was wrong, so we know Hitler is wrong. Like, no, you're not proving anything. You're not proving anything by saying that. Yeah, Hitler was wrong because we believe Hitler was wrong. If you're making a scenario where Hitler won and it convince everyone that he's right, then Hitler was not wrong. It's a sad reality. But it's the reality. that we have a subjective morality. If you're claiming that it's objective, prove it. The comment is free for you to prove it. So far, I have not seen any evidence of an objective morality. And this guy, I'm not even gonna call this a comment. I don't know why he played the entire Frank Turek's video. It just doesn't make sense to me. If you're gonna make a video and just preach, just do that instead of making it like you're reacting to Frank Turek. Because this is not a reaction. We heard him at the beginning and then at the end he started preaching. Just these people. Anyways, that's it for today. If you liked the video, please click that like button and subscribe. Thank you all for watching.